Welcome to meditation in this third week of Lent. And we've been looking at the last words of Jesus as a guide through this season. We've had forgiveness, we've had kingdom. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And today we have behold your son and behold your mother. The idea of family, of community, of belonging, of kinship. So as we enter this time of quietness, we pause to be still, to adjust the position where we're sitting, comfortably but alert and upright if we can, noticing our posture, noticing where we place our hands, noticing our feet on the ground, noticing our breathing. And we pause to be still, to breathe slowly, to recenter our scattered senses, to open ourselves to the divine presence. You might want to lower your gaze or close your eyes or use the image on the screen. But either way, begin with the breath, consciously taking slower, deeper breaths. Consciously holding the breath after the in-breath. Deliberately being aware you're breathing in through the nose and out through the mouth. Try taking a deep breath and holding it. And then expelling the air as fully as you can. So experiment with your breathing in a conscious, intentional way. Maybe counting your in-breaths. Maybe holding the breath after the inhalation. Maybe noticing the rise on the inhalation of the belly and the fall on the exhalation. Notice your breathing. Become your own observer. We've used that phrase before. Observe yourself breathing. Note what's happening to the air. Entering the body and leaving the body. You Might want to attach some simple words. In, out. I breathe in, calm. I breathe out, release. Deep. Slow. Notice too now how as your body begins to relax, pay attention to the state of your body. Notice how your body and mind and heart, all of you, how does it feel? No judgment, just noticing. If the body is tense, breathe into any areas of tension. Breathing in, calm. Breathing out, release. If you have a tense posture, then allow the muscles, the limbs to loosen and relax. And if the mind is tense, if the mind is racing, give your mind permission to rest. We're familiar with how to do a body scan. Well, some further thoughts on being our own observer of our mind. We've talked before about different selves, the false self and the true self. There's one or two thoughts from one of Richard Rohr's colleagues, Cynthia Bourgeault, who has identified or uses the idea of 4 inner voices that we can listen to or be aware of. She calls these the ego, the soul, the spirit, and the heart. And usefully, she offers some examples of listening to these when making a decision. She gives an example of a cabin in the wilderness on a mountain that she's been in the habit of renting for her work for a period of 3 months or 6 months sometimes, but flexibly, on a flexible basis. But then the owner changed the arrangement and wanted rent to be on a year-round basis, and gave Cynthia Bourgeault only a week in which to decide. And she had conflicting voices within her in reaching a decision. She says, I sat down with my 4 voices to listen more deeply to what they had to say. The ego, go for it. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to lock in a secure living situation at an affordable rate, albeit only just. The soul, yes, What a chance to finally be able to call this Snowmass Valley, country of my heart, home. To be close to all wild soul places of my life, and at the very epicenter of my journeying place. And then spirit, no. What part of clinging do you not understand? And haven't you already been discerning that your work here is winding down? Why suddenly reverse course? And then heart, no. As your friend Rafe would say, this is last year's language. To take the bait is to betray the essence of what the two of us were all about. Stay open. Trust and value the new becoming over the old bird in hand. The experiment continues. So in analysing that, she says, the ego is concerned primarily with security and survival, my ancient fear of being homeless, a cosmic orphan. And soul, continuing to attune primarily to nostalgia, locks in solidly with the ego, creating a very powerful coalition. But then enter the heart, teased forth by a willingness to sit in the midst of the opposites without impatience or judgment. And it manages to actualize a third force by blending the spiritual principle at stake with the human fear and yearning, with a new middle trust, trust in the covenantal ground between myself and my spiritual teacher. There is spaciousness here, but now grounded in a very personal and empowering love, which confers the inner force to act. Often, she says, it seems that heart also seems to know what the next step in the unfoldment of what I call my life will be. In this case, not a week after the decision was taken to let the place in Colorado go, another opportunity suddenly presented itself back in Maine. Ego, soul, spirit, heart. I wonder what voices we might discern within us. I'm not here proposing a course in spiritual discernment, but it might be interesting for a few moments to sit with any situation that you are currently facing. Perhaps something that's happened, an incident during the day. Any incident is useful material for reflection. What happened? Why did it happen? What am I going to do with that knowledge for another time? But adding to that this idea of different voices speaking differently to us. Can you tease out and hear different voices within? Be open to these trusting words in Psalm 55. Give your burdens to the Lord, and he will take care of you. Maybe we only hear one voice particularly loudly. I suspect that very often that will be the ego. Maybe one thing for us to work on is to notice it and gently lay it to one side, allowing us to hear other voices. I wonder what voices Jesus might have been hearing in those last hours of his life. Perhaps he too experienced a tension between an ego voice bent on survival and a spirit or heart voice helping him to look forwards and not back. Paul Dominiak, in the book The Falling of Dusk that we're following, suggests that in these last words spoken to Mary and John, "Behold your son, behold your mother," he is invoking the idea of kindom, dropping the G from kingdom, the idea of being with, sought surely by the thief in the second words. This idea is here brought into reality. These two are made into a new family. In this simple but stark instance, the way is opened for us to see the startling simplicity of the idea of a new family in which all belong as part of the body of Christ, part of family, sisters and brothers. Dropping the G from kingdom to give kindom offers a challenge to move not only from charity to solidarity, but also from complacency to concern and engagement. It's a move away from the perspective that thinks, in the words of 19th century poet Robert Browning, "God's in his heaven, all's right with the world," to the perspective of the poor Latinos, Hispanics and others living in the United States and other countries who experience the underside of oppression quite personally, and who know that charitable handouts alone will never lead to justice and equity for them or their families. So just as the first two words, "forgive them," and "remember me, you will be with me in paradise," just as these disrupt our ideas of God, others and ourselves, so these words, "Behold your son, behold your mother," stand as an alternative vision against the violence of the cross, a violence which tries to disrupt kinship, to disrupt family. Behold, see a new way of being. And so we go into our silence using the same chant as before. "Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom." but perhaps replace kingdom with kindom. So we move to our time of silence. You might want to use the words of that chant, or simply to focus on the breathing. Or notice your thoughts, become your own observer, and discern whether one voice is louder than others, whether you're able to hear other voices. As we dwell in the stillness and the silence. So we come out of our silence. We bring our attention back to where we are sitting. That's taking another deep breath. Returning our senses to the physical of our body and our location, but not forgetting the heart. Some closing words. It is not yours to finish the task, but neither are you free to set it aside. Rabbi Tarfon. And from the Tear Fund Lent devotional booklet, Within Your Heart. It is true the odds are stacked against us. It is true the weight of the world feels as though it may break us. Our days are numbered, the clock is ticking, and the goodness on which we wanted to depend too often seems to go missing. Do not be afraid. To complete the repair of the world is not why you were made. You were created to play only your small part. Whatever is within your hands, whatever is the now of your heart.